Ladies and gents, I'm going to be inside you in 49 days. I don't know if you know that. I don't know if you care, but I'm going to be inside you in 49 days. What I mean by that is that I'm coming to the US of A. So today we're going to be checking out 10 things that will shock you if you're in the USA. If you're new here, my name is Adam, just like it says over there. Make sure you like and subscribe or I'm going to steal your socks.
Some of you have never been to the USA before, but others of you live here, and I am from the USA, so all of this stuff is completely normal to me. But when I talk with my friends and people that I know that traveled and visited the USA for the first time, they go, oh my gosh, Stephanie, I experienced so much culture shock. There were...
Yo, have any of you guys ever been to Northern Ireland? Just throwing it out there. Have you guys ever been? If you did, if you went, where did you go? Did you like it? Probably not, but let me know anyway in the comments box down below. Thank you.
Now, a lot of this stuff is actually going to be about observations that my husband made because he is from Argentina originally. And when he came to the USA for the first time 4 years ago, he made some really interesting and funny observations. So I want to share that with you guys. And in another video, I'll tell you about some of the...
Sometimes these videos scare me, man. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
About how that country and culture was different from what I knew in the USA, okay? But when my husband came here, one of the first places we went was to my sister's house. And I remember he came out of the bathroom and he was like, oh my gosh, the toilet paper was so soft. It was like
Wait a minute. What the f is he wiping his ass with? Surely toilet paper is just toilet paper, no?
a blanket. And I was just looking at him like, okay, like to me that was just normal. And then I thought about it and I was like, yeah, you know, when we were in Argentina, the toilet paper wasn't as thick, I guess, okay? But in the US, we actually have a couple words for the kind of toilet paper that we use because a lot of it is really soft. I mean, depending on how much money you spend on your toilet paper or what brand you get. Or
see, in my head, what I'm thinking is, I bet you his toilet paper was like kitchen roll, you know, that kitchen roll type paper where it's kind of really thin but kind of like not crispy but like harder, right? You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, toilet paper is designed to be softer for your little butt, you know, giving a good old clean. Sometimes I just need to stop speaking, man. What am I even talking about? What is that? What type of diagram is this?
Quality you want. You can get like really cheap thin toilet paper.
Yes, sir.
Or you can get the other kind that's so thick and it's like a blanket, okay? So the kind that's like a blanket, we call it quilted, okay? A quilt is a type of blanket.
No blanket for your ass.
Picture of that if you want to see what quilts look like. But basically they call it quilted toilet paper, or they might call it something like 2-ply. 2-ply just means that there are actually two pieces of paper that are put together to make that toilet paper extra soft, okay? All right, the next thing that will probably shock you about the USA is that the food here is extremely sweet. Now, this is not a good thing in my opinion.
I actually did wonder this, right? See, I went to the US in 2019 and I swear I can't even remember eating. We went to the parks most days, so we were just getting like foods from, you know, the parks and shit. I can't remember actually eating anywhere, man. I remember getting a burger somewhere and it was the same size as my house. But I remember that. But I always wondered this. Is the US food, it's obviously not all sweet, but like, is the sweet stuff like super sweet? This is probably what she's going to say if I just stop speaking.
Because it just means that there's a ton of sugar and unnatural products used in our food to sweeten the food. But again, my husband made this observation when he came here. He made a sandwich, he bit into his sandwich, and he was just like, whoa, why is this bread sweet? Like it almost tasted like dessert to him or something, but it was actually marketed as regular sandwich bread, right? And you don't really normally think of bread that you use for sandwiches as being sweet. But anyhow, that's one of the problems he has with the bread here is that it's completely sweet. And you'll just notice that.
Surely there's different types of bread though. What if she just had a sweet type of bread like sourdough, right? Sourdough's a little bit sweeter, isn't it, than normal bread? Was he eating normal bread? Can somebody confirm that your bread is sweet?
And all kinds of food too. It's not just bread, it's also meat. It's also the sauce we put on our food dishes. There is just so much sugar in the food, and also there's a lot of obesity in the USA. So that's not even on the list, but that's another thing that might shock you when you come here and you see the size of people. Okay, the next thing that will probably shock you about the USA is that the cars here, there's such a variety, okay? You can go down the street and see a Corvette here, a really unique car there. Okay, full disclaimer, I'm not a car person. I don't know that.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like there's a variety of cars everywhere in every country. I don't think that's going to shock me. I mean, I live in Northern Ireland. We just about have electricity. There was a Ferrari and a Lamborghini down the road like last week, just driving beside each other. And then the next thing you know, there's a horse and cart going by. I mean, that's variety, isn't it? I feel like the variety, it's everywhere, man, I'd say.
Names of cars, I'm like a Corvette, a Mustang, but the way I talk about cars, I'm like, oh, that's a cute blue car. That's a really awesome red car. The way I distinguish cars is if it's a van or a pickup or like a four-door car, a sports car. That's kind of like my terminology for cars.
Yeah, if it works,
limited.
it works.
But if you're a person that's really into cars, you're gonna love driving down the freeway and seeing all the different cars.
I'd say there's a lot of cars. Maybe that's what you mean.
There's such a huge variety.
So
and I
many.
remember when I went to Argentina and I was like, okay, so there's like 5 kinds of cars here. I mean, there's more than that.
You know what?
I was so used
you know what? I understand where she's coming from. Like, you see over here, this place is like swamped in Volkswagens and BMWs. Like that's literally 90% of cars on the road. 100%. 90%. I'm 90% of cars on the road, but I'm 100%. I don't know. Okay, never mind. You know what I mean? I'm 100% correct about there being 90% of Volkswagens and BMW.
To seeing such a wide variety here in the USA.
It's this.
When I went to Argentina, it just seemed like everything was all the same. Okay? So
yeah.
I don't mean any offense by that, obviously. These are just observations. Next, number 5. In the USA, you can do almost anything over the phone. You can make an appointment, book an appointment, call a store and make a request, put an order in, ask about something, or send an email. But it's more common to just book things.
Send an email. That's going to shock me in the USA.
Things online, like you can get a pizza delivered to your door just by requesting one online. You don't even have to call anymore. But the reason why I'm saying this is because in so many countries that I've traveled to, if you want to talk with a banker or something like that, you actually have to go to the bank, stand in line, wait your turn, ask your question, talk to the person about it, get the information that you need, and then you go home. In the US, we just don't want to waste any time going anywhere and asking questions when we can just, use the technology that we have to get the.
I hope I don't sound rude whenever I'm saying this. You can do that anywhere. If you have a phone, you can literally ring the bank and talk to them if you need to. I can literally go on to my PC right now and chat to customers. I was literally just having a conversation with the FedEx agent, actually. What? She also said delivering pizza online. You can do that here too.
Okay, number 6. The next thing that might shock you about the USA is that a lot of the bathrooms here are automated. I mean, everything is automated. The toilet flushes on its own. You have to put your hand under the soap dispenser and it will pop out a little bit of soap for you. Then you wash your hands and then you put your hands under the faucet and then the water comes on automatically. And then you can either put your hands in a drying machine.
That would be the same as here, I'd say.
Hand dryers? Okay, you can put your hands in one of those or under one, and it's all automated. It's like you don't have to touch anything. And maybe that just represents that in our culture we're germaphobes. I don't know. Or maybe people are just, trying to be more hygienic. But
I don't know how I feel about the whole flushing being automatic, man. If you move, because your ass cheeks went dead or something, you're down there for a minute, you know what I mean? Like you had some big meal a few hours before and it's time to release the demon. And what if you're you're fucking moving around for just a little bit so that your ass cheeks get a bit of blood flow around, and that toilet thinks you've just stood up and boom, tidal wave up your ass.
This is really interesting, although it can be frustrating when something's not working because you're like, what's wrong with the machine? You're putting your hand in, you're putting it out, you're putting it in, you're putting it out. And then as soon as you take it out, then the soap falls, but it doesn't fall on your hand. So it can be really frustrating.
Yep.
And I guess I'm going to have to talk a lot about Ren in this video, my husband, because he's just the one that, shared all these observations with me and gave me these funny stories. But
okay, so I understand this now. Okay. So this is coming from a guy who lived in Argentina that maybe didn't have as an advanced culture as the US where she is. Kind of makes sense. Okay, I get it.
The first time he used a bathroom like that and realized that he could just wave his hand in front of one of the machines that would roll out the paper towel for him to dry his hands, he was just like, whoa, it's so cool. Now, I know there are plenty of countries around the world that are also, advanced in this department, but Plenty of them aren't, okay? So some of you guys might find this very interesting. And if you visit the USA and it's not like this in your country, then
I cannot
you'll
wait to
probably
go.
find it shocking.
Cannot
Okay,
wait.
number 7, something else that will shock you about the USA is our measuring system. Our system frustrates so many people
Feet.
around the world because we measure length in stuff like feet and inches. And then we use Fahrenheit, and it's just so confusing because the rest of the world is using the metric system, which it's a great system, you know? You
use
base
feet.
it on the number 10. Everything's really easy to understand. And in the US, we're still stuck on this other system. If you grow up with our system, it's perfect.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, you're used to what you grew up with, right? You're used to what you use your whole life. So I feel like there's absolutely 0 point ever changing it. There's literally no need to change it because you know what you learn, right? Well, I know Celsius because that's what we use. And then I know, like, all my community over in Twitch, they always talk about how hot it is in the place they live at. There's a link down below if you want to come follow Twitch and tell me your Fahrenheit. It's just what you know, right? It's literally just what you know.
Makes sense. It's great. And for us, when we travel to your country and you're on the metric system, we're like, no, I don't understand. But the same thing happens to you when you come over here and you're just like, okay, it's going to be 80 degrees today. Well, is that hot? Is that cold? What does 80 degrees even feel like, right? Because you're used to maybe 40 degrees Celsius being really hot. Anyways, number 8.
I'm used to 20 degrees Celsius being really hot, just saying.
Another thing that will probably shock you about the USA is just the sheer amount of multicultural people that we have living here. There are just so many people living here from all over the world. And in fact, this is one of the reasons why you can live in the USA and almost never have to speak English, because there are subcultures that have formed within the community for Russian speakers, for Spanish speakers, for Chinese speakers. And there are stores that are owned by people of these nationalities, and you can go to these stores and you can buy, you know, the Russian food that you're used to buying where you live, or the Mexican food, or whatever it is, and you can talk with them in your language, and you can do so many things without needing English. Also, if you ever make calls on an automated phone system,
we are cohesive.
They might ask you, oh, do you want this call in a different language? If you want it in Spanish, press 2. If you want it in this language, press this, or whatever. So we have just a lot of people here living from so many different cultures.
If anybody's watching this and you live in the US right now and you weren't born there, or your family is from somewhere else, let me know. I would like to genuinely know. Okay? I'd like to know. By the way, I don't know how this has just popped into my head, man. I'm actually going to get the name because I feel like I need to give this person a shout out real quick. Randy Killman sent a super chat on one of these videos, or super thanks even, of $50. You went to the effort of clicking the super thanks button and sending me money just for making a video. Man, thank you so much. That is fucking insane. Excuse my French, but I really appreciate it, man. Thank you. Don't know why that popped in my head. Just thought I'd do it.
Some of my students, they say, hey, Stephanie, I'm going to the USA, but I'm going to try my best to avoid Brazilians because I'm going there to practice English, or I'm going to try to avoid Spanish speakers, French speakers, whatever it is, because I don't want to speak my language. I'm going to the USA to practice English. Since there are so many people here from different cultures, if someone sees that you're here trying to speak English and practice, but they can hear your accent, and they're like, oh, they speak Spanish, so do I. They might just speak to you in Spanish because it's easier, and you might get frustrated and go,
yeah, I was
no,
going to
I
say
don't
that would be
speak
so frustrating.
Spanish. I'm here to practice my English. So if that happens, just, you know, stick with English and say, no, it's okay. I'm here to practice my English, and they'll change back for you. Okay, number 9, traffic laws in the USA are very strict. And when I say very strict, I mean you better know what the laws are before you start driving on the streets so you don't get a ticket, okay?
What?
You have to stop fully at the stop sign, wait 3 seconds before you start going. You can't tailgate people, you can't drive too closely, you can't roll up slowly to a stoplight just because it's red and you're trying to save momentum in your car. I mean,
yo, I do that. I do that every single time. And if I see in the distance the red light is on, bro, I'm driving 5 miles per hour the whole way there, man, till it turns green again.
That's what my husband does. And I'm like, no, just drive up to the stoplight, stop, okay? Wait. And then when it's green, then you can go. And he's like, but that's not fuel efficient. I'm like, you know what? Like, we can't. You just have to follow the rules. You just have to drive how people drive here. And I know in other countries, because I've been to plenty of them, that people drive differently all over the world. Some of you guys drive really crazy, okay? But in the US, just take it slowly, be calm. There will be that crazy guy every now and then that'll cut you off or whatever, but don't give him the middle finger.
I'm going to ask you guys a question, and I need you to be honest. Who in here is a maniac on the road? Or, at the slightest inconvenience, the road rage boils? Let me know. I'm looking directly into your eye, so only you know if you're lying or not. Okay? We're all friends here. I know you're looking at me right now thinking, is he talking to me? I am.
Unless you want to practice your curse words in English, you know, but just take it slowly. Know that the traffic laws here are really strict and just read up on what they are before you come. Okay, the last thing that will probably shock you in the USA is that everything is big. Things are just big here. I mean, the country itself is pretty big, right? It's pretty enormous. The people, we already talked about it. We've got our obesity problem, so some of us are big also. Cars are bigger. The lanes that the cars drive in, the roads are bigger. Food portions are enormous. They're like offensive practically. You go out somewhere for lunch and they give you enough food for like 3 people. Everything is just really...
I will tell you right now, I have never been offended by somebody putting too much food on my plate.
Big in the USA. From the cars, the lanes, the houses, the people, the land itself, you'll just notice that quantities and portions are large. So anyhow, what I want to know from you guys now is, have you ever been to the USA? And if you have, how is it different from your country? How are things done differently? How are
It's just better in every single aspect of being alive. My first ever Uber experience was fantastic. The weather's great. Too great. I had a cookie with ice cream on it. Never had that before. I went to Disneyland, Universal. I had all of the fun. Every single thing I did in Orlando when I was there was better than my experience being here for my entire life. So if you're thinking about coming to Northern Ireland, do not, because it's a shithole. People say, no, it's not, Adam. They're fucking lying, okay? Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, ladies and gentlemen. Just before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and maybe come and follow us over on the Twitches. There's a link down below in the pinned comment. Click it. Boom. You're my friend. Anyway, I shall go to the gym. Goodbye.